The MPC2000XL is a legendary sampler and drum machine that expanded on the idea of 1997's popular MPC2000 by Akai. These machines are incredibly sought after by both people getting into different types of sampled music and collectors as well. The big question though is, should you buy one? There's a lot of factors in that. As somebody who kind of collects old drum machines and samplers, there's a lot you should think about before you commit to one of these machines, especially if it's one of your very first big hardware purchases. If you're pretty handy with a soldering iron and you know your way around circuit boards or PCBs, it shouldn't be really that big of an issue to solder in a few new switches. On mine, the one that's in this video, I need to replace the Q-link. I just haven't done it yet. It's like 2 solder spots, and then you put a new one in and solder the new one, and it should be pretty much good to go. Not too difficult. However, cost does become a thing. Parts for these are incredibly rare because they're not manufactured anymore. So you're relying really on eBay or something like MPC stuff, which is a great site, but I mean, $200-300 for a hot swap card bay, or $100 for a floppy drive if you break yours. It can get pretty expensive, especially based on the age of the machine and how well it was cared for. Not to mention just the price to get into one of these machines. You can pay anywhere from, I don't know, $500 to, let's say, $1,000. Some of the special editions people are still selling for, I don't know, $1,500. And it can be, you're buying an old piece of equipment, a piece of vintage gear. Another thing to keep in mind is that absolutely anything can go wrong at any time. So if you use the machine heavily, you may run into an issue where like a tack switch just snaps or it stops responding. Those parts won't always be readily available. Now, as cool as they are and as cool as the old machines are and how they do stuff and how they sound, which usually can be recreated nowadays with software, or Akai actually does. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that there's new MPCs out. For me, they're a little bit too iPad-like. Like if I'm going to use a touchscreen, I'm going to use like a 16-pad controller and Koala on an iPad. Like, it's just going to be more fun. Some things I really do like about the MPC2000XL though, number one, the pads are, in my opinion, the best pads on any MPC release, even including the current ones. They feel good, they're super responsive, and they're very playable. Like, you can punch them or you can, play them softly, and they're great. They're my favorite set. I have an MPC2000XL and an MPC4000, and those are the two I've kept. I've had the 5000, I've had the 1000, I've had the MPC1, the MPC Live. These two have very similar sensor sheets, so they're very similar in how they feel to play. Definitely one of the biggest reasons I like it. Like, even if I'm not using the machine itself, sometimes I'll use it as a MIDI controller because it just gives you that feel. You might hear people talk a lot about the MPC sequencer, which I will agree. The 2000XL has a fantastic sequencer. The timing is great. It feels tight. Really fun to play. However, that doesn't mean that same feeling can't be done for cheaper with a different setup or different software. So there are limitations to using the MPC2000XL, and it's something to consider if you're going to buy one or if it's a deal breaker for you. Like for instance, a lot of the MPC essential workflow is chopping up a sample and being able to play the chops in such a way that they cut each other off. On the 2000XL, you have a finite amount of mute group settings you can use per pad. So when I approach sampling on the 2000XL, I approach it more like you would on an SP404, where you're going to be holding the pad until you're ready for it to be done playing sound. I like this workflow. It makes it fun. It's a little bit more experimental. You can be off time a little bit more. But straight up, it's a very straightforward sampler. The MPC can slice a sample up to 16 times. In the machine, they're referred to as zones, but you have control over them like you would with any other sampler. You can set attack and decay. You can use filters to get the sound you want. There's a plethora of other choices and ways to manipulate audio. I'm just giving you kind of the basis. Most samplers do a lot of the same things, just in different ways. So it's something to keep in mind. You have other settings as well, such as 16 levels, which will allow you to basically tune a sample or set the velocity point of a sample, whereas like the top pads will be louder and the bottom will be lower in 16 steps, or you can do it by pitch, which will allow you to take like a bass one shot and play notes with it. In conclusion, the MPC2000XL is a really great and solid piece of studio gear. It functions amazingly as a sampler, and it's rock solid in what it does. However, if you find yourself having difficulty with limitations, it might not be the best choice for you at that time. However, if you just want something really tactile that you can throw samples into and play around and have a good time and mess around with the pitch, I mean, I'd recommend one if it can be had within your budget. Just always keep in mind that things are going to be a little bit different than maybe like a DAW on your computer. They're not as instantaneous. Load times are a thing on these kind of machines. Just stuff to be aware with. I don't find it a big deal to work around. It actually kind of slows me down and makes me think about the choices I'm making a little bit more. Maybe you'll find it's the same way for you.